The sky over Gethlan-IV burned amber. The air stank of iron and ozone, mingling with the guttural roars of the 9-meter Torgath behemoths prowling in the distance. The trainees stood at attention, their faces drawn in uneasy anticipation. Among them was Ren, a recruit barely into her 20s, clutching her pulse rifle with trembling fingers. This was the new training program. It was unlike any that had come before. The first lesson, watch and learn. General Urek, a stoic figure with a scarred visage that seemed carved from the planet's rock itself, stood at the forefront. He gestured toward a group of repentants, their ragged uniforms and hollow eyes betraying the weight of their servitude. These were not lifeless shells. They were men, women, and others, desperate to survive, to fight for their lives. Despite the shock collars around their necks, they were still driven by a primal instinct to escape their inevitable fate. "Observe," Urek said, his voice like grinding gravel. "They are tools for 50 years, and like all tools, they must be used efficiently. One stab from each. Every repentant must land a blow. The creature bleeds out. Simple." The repentants surged forward at Urek's command, their movements frantic, driven by fear and desperation. She flinched as the first repentant was swatted into a smear of viscera against the ground. Another crumpled under a massive Torgath hoof, bones cracking like brittle glass. Despite the carnage, the tide of them pressed forward. Their collars glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with their movements, urging them to keep going. They rushed the behemoth, claws the size of battering rams swinging wide. Their bodies trembled, but they pushed forward, their survival instincts battling the certainty of their death. Spears plunged into the thick hide of the beast, but the Torgath retaliated with brutal swipes. Blood sprayed in thick black arcs, mingling with the shattered bodies of the repentants. The behemoth roared in pain, but it was too late. Its massive form collapsed in a thunderous heap, dragging several more bodies down with it. Urek turned back to the trainees. "And that's how it's done. Now, each of you will be assigned 500 of them to command." Ren shifted uneasily. "General, if they die so quickly, how can they serve 50 years? Doesn't this make their deaths meaningless?" Urek's smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. You don't seem convinced." He raised a hand and beckoned to one of the repentants. The man hesitated, his hands trembling as he approached, fear and excitement flickering in his eyes. "Confess the sins from when you were human," Urek commanded, his voice cold. The repentant flinched. His breath quickened, but he stepped forward. I killed a man," he stammered, his voice shaky. "Raped his wife and daughter, ate their flesh, sacrificed the corpses to the chaos gods. It was exhilarating." As he spoke, a twisted grin stretched across his face, an expression of pleasure rising from the memory of his crimes, as though the reliving of them gave him a perverse sense of ecstasy. Ren's pulse thundered in her ears. Her stomach churned. Before she knew it, her fist connected with the repentant's jaw, sending him sprawling to the ground. "You fucker, what 50 years, as if! I'll send you to hell now, how about that?" she screamed, her voice thick with fury. Urek stepped in, his hand heavy on her shoulder. "Committing evil when one has the choice to do good, that is true depravity. Do not mistake these creatures for anything else. They exist only to repay the blood debt they owe to humanity. Nothing more." Ren glared at the ground, her chest heaving, but her heart pounding with a mix of disgust and defiance. "Now," Urek continued, "take your squads and kill your beasts. Let's see if you can manage what I made look easy." The trainees dispersed, each leading their 500 repentants into the thick forest surrounding the field. The trees loomed tall, casting shadows that stretched long over the underbrush. It was an unfamiliar and hostile environment, with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant growls warning them of the dangers lurking within. Hours later, the results were grim. The Torgaths lay dead, their blood seeping into the soil, but the cost was high. The first squad had 182 repentants still standing. Ren, in dead last, had only 2. As the trainees gathered again, Ren braced herself for the inevitable reprimand. Urek approached her, his face unreadable. "Not fit to command," he said bluntly. Ren's stomach sank, her heart heavy with the weight of failure. But then, unexpectedly, Urek's lips curved into a sly grin. "You have a knack for bringing repentants to their doom. I admire the consistency." He clapped her shoulder, his smile widening. "So I'll give you more. Keep moving forward.